Well, hi everybody. This is Dear Mama Sal, and welcome to the broadcast. If you are new to our broadcast, let me just give you a little word of advice. What we do is in the front end, we actually do sort of some news and views and updates while we're waiting for people to come in. And then later on, we'll get to the main subject, which today will be lessons from life. And if you're watching on the replay, you're going to see that in the notes below, it'll say from 00 to such and such a time, news and updates. And then from whatever that time is onwards to the end, it will have the topic of the day. Hi there, Lauren. Good to see you. I was just thinking about you, so I'm really glad you're here. Um, I just wanted you to know that a month ago, you had 4 modules to finish by the end of the month. How many have you got left? Hi, Sarah. Good to see you. And I was just sort of following up on my notes, and I thought that really interesting. At the end of July, you had 4 modules left, and I thought, boy, she doesn't have 4 modules left anymore. All right, so good to see you, and thank you for being here. Uh, you're just about done with module 3, so you've got a month left to do the last one and clean it up. I'm very proud of you, Lauren. We were talking a bit about this at lunchtime. What are the obstacles in your way, and how do you turn the obstacles into stepping stones instead of big rocks that are stopping you from going anywhere? So, but it was strange because I really was. Hi there, Jody. You know something, Sarah? That's okay. We totally understand life getting in the way. Because that actually is part of what I'm going to be talking about this evening. So hopefully that will give you some sort of help. I just wanted you to know that it's been a chaotic week all around, hasn't it? I don't know about the rest of you, but it's a very emotional week. And amazing to me when I think about it, that we've had all these services for Senator John McCain that I don't know about the rest of you, but they touch my very soul when I watch those go down because I respected the man so much. And then there was the Aretha Franklin one today. And then it was my birthday yesterday. And, I'm thinking today is the day that Princess Diana died. It's just like, what is it about the end of August, I wonder? Do any of you get my drift? It's just like, just amazing how much happens at this time of the year. And so it's been a very, very difficult time. However, Lauren, seeing as you're here, I gave thanks to both you and Jody at the lunchtime broadcast for thanking me, or rather thanking you for supporting me in doing the artwork. And I say that because a year ago, you will remember, I thought I was in a very bad way. And I started to do the artwork, and it really helped my soul, and I believe helped my health as well. And so I just wanted to say that it's really important that you understand that the support you two particularly have given me in continuing really has made a difference in my life. And I wanted to thank you for it. Because, I think I sit here at 71 and I go, my life has totally changed in the last couple of years, totally changed. And I wonder how I ever had time to go to work. And some of you will understand that. Anyway, so for those of you who haven't seen it, let me just show you. I did show them at lunchtime, but just in case you missed that one, let me just show you what we've got here, because they're important. First of all, this one will be absolutely mind-blowing when it has about 4 layers of varnish on it. Can you see all the metallics in there? It's got bronzes, it's got, Yeah, yeah, way, Sarah, 71. It's got bronzes, it's got gold, it's got silver, so a whole series of metallics in there, and that was a gift that I gave to myself, was to take the time to actually do that. And then with the leftover paint from that, I did a little one, which I also love, and you probably can't see that, but that also has all those colors in it, but in a different format. And then my birthday one, which was yesterday, I did this one, um, which has some really interesting colors in it. You can probably see the blue here and the red. And so that also, by the time it's got a whole lot of varnish on, is going to have quite a look to it. And this I did with the leftover paint from that one. So, but that has a lot of depth to it, probably difficult to see in this light and this camera, but it actually is more interesting than it looks on the camera at the moment. But the one that I actually really smiled about was this one, because this one, I have been trying to do this for a long time. And this is, Lauren, you will remember the swipe thing that you once heard about. And this is a swipe that went right. And I've got it on film, I believe. So you'll be able to see how it actually was going wrong, and I changed it. And I'm so glad I did, because I ended up with this, and I really love this. I love the colors in it. Yeah, I know. Isn't it amazing? So I have no idea what to call it. Anybody got an idea what to call it? But I just wanted to really thank Lauren and Jody for their support, because I probably wouldn't have done these had they not sort of pushed me to make the time. Whoops. I just want to put these back up again before I ruin them. All right, hang on one second, everybody. That's good. I already stood on one. Okay, so I just wanted to remind everybody that I said this to Jody this afternoon, that everybody needs cheerleaders. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter how well you're doing in life or how little you're doing in life. I don't know if you agree with me. Everybody needs somebody that cheers them on when they are feeling a little less than. And it's funny. I wonder if any of you understand this, even though I know that there is a piece of art. I know that. And it'll look even more so when it's finished in about a month's time. I still, sort of lean back and I look at it and I go, I wonder if I'm kidding myself here. Am I just chucking paint at canvases, or is it actually art? And I wanted to actually talk about that, because I am certain that you all have your version of that. I used to say that when I was a professional speaker as well, which is, I wonder when they're going to realize I really don't know what I'm doing, and I was earning thousands of dollars standing up on stage. And I would literally sit there just before I went on stage and go, I can't believe they're paying me this much when I really don't know what I'm doing. And, the truth was I did. Hi there, Nana. I did know what I was doing. I just was feeling normal, I think. So, Nana, thank you for your suggestion this week. Nana, I did I did manage to get this done this week. I just wanted to show you. This is called a swipe. This is where you swipe colors over the top of others, as opposed to just pouring them. And this was done, by the way, for anybody who wants to know, I did that with a offset spreader. What do you call a spreader? The thing that you would spread icing with. Is there another name for that? If anybody knows a better name for it, let me know. So what I really was talking about at lunchtime, though, is that, yeah, but it's not a spatula. It's a metal spreader. I'll think, somebody will. Oh, thank you, Nana. No, I didn't see that. I must admit I fell asleep, but I will change that as I speak to you right now so I don't forget. Just hold on 1 second while I do that. I appreciate the fact that you check on that. I do try and warn people that I will do it, though sometimes it takes me a bit longer. Hang on 1 second. I am just going to do that right now. That's very kind of you to check it for me, as you do. What happens is I go in to do other things to it, and I just get distracted. And totally my bad, because there we go. That should be good now, Nana. Thank you for letting me know. You're very good at checking that for me. You sent a message, but I have been asleep, so I haven't seen any messages. I've had telephone calls. I've had, all sorts of things go on that I haven't even picked up on yet. So don't take it personally. I found I was very tired after the lunchtime broadcast, so I needed to take some me time. All right, so what I wanted to talk about is, I think, thank you, Nana, for the happy birthday wish. I was just trying to think here, who else had a birthday? Let me just double check that again. I did check it at lunchtime. We had birthdays. Where have I got the birthdays? Huh. Okay, let me just find it again. Yeah. I think it's a pretty quiet week. Well, I guess that Ali had a birthday this week, right? So that's important in your life, I know, Nana. Hang on 1 second. Let me see who else. Yeah, it's Katie's. Nana, you would remember Katie from way back. Katie, for the paramedic. I'm sure you will remember her from the early days. Ali is 19. Wow, that's amazing. I remember 19 very well. I remember 18 better, but 19 definitely. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. So, and we don't appear to have any birthdays next week to celebrate in the extended family, unless I've forgotten one. It's a metal spatula, okay? Thank you very much, Nana. I just call it a spreader. It's about this long, and it's sort of offset, right? It's like a knife that is offset. It's not straight. It drops down like this, and you spread the fondant or the icing with it. So, but it's interesting. The reason I wanted to show that picture or that piece of art is because of how long it took me to get it right. It's funny that some things you can do and you get it immediately. I have been trying to get that thing right for a long time. And, I've tried different ways of doing it. I've watched all the videos, and every time I did it, it sort of went right, but not really. And then that one went right, and I went, okay, fine, I'm happy now. And it made me think of how many things in life that is true of. Hi, Erin. Good to see you, honey. So I'm going to say there's a time check here, Jody, for 15 minutes, because I want to talk about life lessons and so how arrogant we can be sometimes when we expect everything to go right the first time. Do any of you get frustrated with people who seem to think um, that that everything should be easy, that you shouldn't have to struggle for anything, or you shouldn't need to, hi Beth, that you shouldn't need to wait for anything or whatever. I think we talked a bit about entitlement a couple of weeks ago. But what I wanted to talk about is that, do you want to do anything enough that you're prepared, as I have done with, that particular painting? you know, um, I'm trying to think how many paintings I tried before that actually worked, doing it that way. And as you can probably see, I did do a video of this, so I'll be able to show you. But I tried it with paper towels, I tried it with spreaders, I tried it with everything, and it just always looked a mess. And then today, it worked, or rather, this was yesterday. So what I wanted to say is, what things in your life are you expecting to go right? And what I was thinking about, and um, I'm certain some of you know this, but if you get on an aeroplane and it's coming from New York City to Vancouver, does it fly in a straight line? Yes, Erin. Erin's saying, yes, she gets very frustrated with people like that because no one ever promised that life would be easy. And, I really believe that the reason we are who we are is because of the path we have taken. Do you understand that? Erin, I believe you have the incredible character and mentality that you have because of what you have endured. Jody, you have the compassion that you have, and the care. Nana, you have the thoughtfulness and um, attention to detail that you have. Because of the life that you've lived. And it was, who was it at lunchtime that was saying? Was it Amy that was saying that they never got to celebrate birthdays? Can anybody, Jody? Can you remember who that was that said that? And because they weren't allowed to celebrate birthdays, it was considered they are so careful now with their children. And I thought that was a really relevant point. And so, I look at all of us and go, understand that the reason you are is because of the things you've been through. I find it interesting that because Jody, Lauren, and I talk to each other almost on a daily basis, they probably know more about my character in some ways than a lot of people. And it comes through every now and then when I will say, "Oh, I've got a glitch going on with my computer," and they will come back and say, "Oh gosh," because they know I won't quit until I've beaten it in some way. Do any of you understand that mentality? So my question was, if you get in an aeroplane from New York to Vancouver, does it fly in a straight line? Yes or no? It's like one point to the other point. Yeah, got a feeling it was Amy. Because if you think about it, a plane never goes in a straight line, right? It gets pushed off. It gets. Oh, I'm just watching what Beth's saying. She got stopped on the way home. Everybody was checked for licenses and insurance. Yeah, not only licenses and insurance, but God forbid if you hadn't had proof that you were American. I'm sure. You know what I mean? That's really worrying to me now that they're stopping people without reason. Um, that to me is really scary because that's part of what's happening. And so what we know is an airplane in flight gets pushed by winds. Would you agree with me? You know, it's trying to take a straight line, but the winds will push it this way or that way, or you know that it'll have to go up more than it wants to because of bad weather, or come down more than it wants to. So all the time, a pilot is adjusting the airplane to keep on track as best it can. And, you know, if there's a really big storm ahead, the pilot will actually detour around the crowd so that the, you know, passengers in the back won't have too bumpy a ride. And I kept thinking, you know, that's a really good thing for us to remember. I talked at lunchtime about the obstacles and how they can become stepping stones if you have the right attitude. And so we look at it and say, why would we be different? Do you know what I mean? Why should things go easily for us? Now, most of you on this broadcast have had interesting things happen. Oh, Sarah, is that happening? Yes, it is. And by the way, did anybody see that yesterday um, Americans were being locked up in Texas? I didn't get to see why and how that happened, but it had to do with, even though they were American, they were being um, incarcerated. Yes, most obstacles you will find out later in life. Most obstacles are your stepping stones, right? I constantly look at that, but also that most of the time you are pushed off course. It's a good there's a good reason for it. You've heard me say many times, whenever I get caught up in a traffic jam, or when I accidentally have you ever been driving somewhere and you know exactly how to get there? And suddenly you take a wrong turn. Have you ever done that, for those of you who can drive? Um, and you're going, why on earth did I do that? And, you know, I just keep reminding myself. I keep reminding myself that the reason I did that is probably to protect me. You know, I got a guardian angel somewhere up there that intentionally had me take a wrong turn. Have any of you had a life lesson like that where you took a wrong turn and you could see why later? I, for example, was driving home one day. I don't know if any of you can relate to this one. Now, I was within 2 miles of my home. How well do I know that area? Very well. And I was driving home, and out of the blue, I took a left turn that I never take. Right? It was just like, and I thought, what on earth am I doing? And then I saw it. On my left-hand side, I saw smoke starting to come out of a house. And I quickly reversed the car back so I could see the street name, because I knew I didn't know this street. I was visiting it. And I literally reversed the car back so I could make sure I knew what the street name was. And I hit 911 and I spoke to the fire department immediately and said, okay, fine. You know, I have just turned into this street on the left-hand side, 2 houses in, there is smoke coming out of the windows. And then the number, I could see the number, and I said the number, and they sort of saying, "Are you sure you got the right street?" And I said, "Very sure. I reversed first to make sure I got the right street, not to waste your time." But you know, I thought about it afterwards. Was it by accident that I took a wrong turn that day? I don't think so. And the other thing was, I was amazed how my mind processed all of that. You know, the fact that I thought to go back and check it properly, double check the house number. And Then the next thing I thought about was that it was a dead-end street. There wasn't a way to get out of it except the way I'd come in. And it was amazing how I very quickly, I don't know if any of you can relate to this, I very quickly played the movie of what was about to happen. And what was about to happen, there were going to be fire engines arriving, and what will they do? They'll block off that road. I knew that. So, can any of you understand that I had done what I came to do, which is to see the fire start? I had reported it, and now it was time for me to get the get out of Dodge fast. And in fact, I was still on the line with the fire department, and I said to them, "I'm just turning around to leave the cul-de-sac because I realize you guys are going to be here any minute now, and I want to make sure I'm not stuck in the cul-de-sac for the next couple of hours." And literally, I managed to get out just as the fire engines came in. And I would have been in their way. So I was, I knew it was the right thing for me to do was to get out of the way. So I looked at it afterwards and said, wow, was that an accident that I took a wrong turn? I don't think so. And my question is, was I the right person to make that call? In other words, with my mind and the way my mind works, how many of you would have reversed back to double check the street number? How many of you would have double checked the house number and got all that information before you hit 911? So I think in a way I was the perfect person to find that. It's like I could have saved lives just by being that thorough. And so there's part of me that goes, I just don't think that was a mistake. And so I've come at 71, I've come to realize that very little in my life happens as a mistake. Now, if you go on a train, do you go in a straight line? Yeah, how many of you know you don't want me on a jury? Can you imagine the trouble I would cause on a jury? How does a train travel? All right, so just get a picture in your mind of your local train. Does it go straight? Yeah, I believe it was a God thing as well, Aaron. The same thing as that lightning bolt down, hitting your house and not killing your daddy was a God thing. What are the chances of that happening? That to me was that the story there was that he lived to tell the tale. The story was not that the lightning bolt hit. Yes, a train doesn't go straight either. So why does a train take detours? Think about this. When they built the, Northern Pacific or whatever they called it, Trans-Canada in our case, when they built that railroad, it didn't go straight. Why did it have to move? Why did it have to detour? Think about that. Let's get some input. Why do trains have to detour? This is not a trick question. I want to make sure everybody's got this going straight in their mind. Because what happens is we expect to be on a straight track, and there's just no way life goes in a straight direction. All right? It needs you to take detours. Why? So, yes, one reason is for obstacles, all right? It's like there's a dirty great mountain in the way, and they've either got to tunnel through it or go around it because they can't go over it. Agreed? And so, that's a good reason to have a detour. Any other reasons why they detoured the train? Yes, cities. Good one, Sarah. They detoured the train To go into cities or to stay away from cities, Sarah? Which was it? And think about that. That in some cases they actually had to detour the train because the city was already built, and therefore, they needed to get it as close to the city as they could because they knew that was going to be a lifeline for produce and for uh, materials and everything else, right? So they needed to detour slightly to get closer to the nearest city. Now, in other cases, they built cities near the railroad. We know that. So today, it would be much more difficult to, yeah, exactly. It's both. Both reasons are valid. So some of our detours are to get us closer to where we're going, and some are to keep us away from trouble. Yes. Now that's another good point, Kez. How are things with you? Good to see you again. All right. Um, because of rivers, it was easier to cross the river, 5 miles up the road a bit, because it was the river was more narrow. So it was easier to cross it there. It was worth the detour because it made the route slightly easier. You lost a few miles, but the bridge needed to be far shorter. Does that make sense? And how many of you have noticed that you have been forced to go on a detour and learned a lesson from going on the detour? So, to me, it's like if you get up every day and start your life again every day and watch what life brings you, all right? Because it will bring you detours. It'll bring you, sorry, you can't go straight from A to B. You've got to take a little bit of a dipsy doodle around the side here. And, at the time you get so frustrated, and I just keep going, there must be a good reason for this. I probably won't find it out for a while, but there must be a good reason. None of us get in a car, for those that can get in a car, none of us get in a car and drive from point A to point B in a straight line. Right? We got traffic lights we have to stop for. We have roads we have to take. We've got one-way streets when we would prefer them to be two-way, so we didn't have that inconvenience. You know, that is life. So I just really wanted to start by going, how many of you have had that sort of a week where, there've been an awful lot of detours to your plan? Why not? Yes. Why can't they just make it easy for me, right? Yes, Sarah, we totally agree with you. As I say to Marnie all the time, you mean it's not all about me? I mean, actually, Marnie, for those of you who know my friend Marnie, we used to laugh about it so much, just together. We'd be able to talk about things and we just look at each other and go, well, apparently it's not all about me. And I always remember that Marnie actually, and I probably still got it here somewhere, Marnie actually had a shirt made where it said across the front, it's all about me. And then it was crossed out and it went, Sal, and I went, the perfect shirt. All right. So Sarah's going, all right, her new house is a major detour, and so is her husband's new job. Right. But you're going to learn so much from that. Now, this is a favorite time of year, and I thought I'd just show you. Hang on one second. It's this time of year. How many of you have been watching me collect these every year? They're from my Limelight hydrangea. And aren't they beautiful? And the most incredible thing is they dry beautifully and keep their color. It's just amazing. So I managed to get, there's still plenty more, but I got 2 bouquets out of it. because I've picked bouquets every year, and they started with really small. I know they're so pretty. They started with really small blooms, and every year they get bigger. And I'm certain that some of you will know that I'm really sad to leave the bush. You know, there's part of me that wants to dig it up and take it with me, but I'm not going to do that. But it is amazing how I look forward to this time of year. I look forward to spring when my flowering cherry tree flowers. I will miss that. And then when my limelight hydrangeas start to turn. I don't know if you noticed, but they're just starting to turn in color. Can you see that slight pink tinge to it? This is the white one, but can you see it's got a slight pink tinge here? As it gets cooler, they get more and more pink. And then they go almost a purpley color. Not purpley, but almost a terracotta color. So the trick is to catch them when they're just starting to turn. And this one is almost green, greeny blue. Can you see there's a slight bluey tinge to that one? A bluey green, almost so. But it's really amazing to me how beautiful they are. And when I sell my place, I might have a little note that goes, please, can I come back once a year and collect a couple of blooms? I've got literally bags of blooms downstairs in my garage that I know I will probably end up throwing away, but I wanted to take them with me and make wreaths from them because, or spray them. What I sometimes do is for people's birthday, I will spray them silver or gold or something, gold maybe for Christmas and silver for birthdays and things, and then put a really nice bow on it, knowing that they will stay, beautiful. And sometimes I just spray them with hairspray and just let them stay exactly as they are. So I wondered if any of you have had a major detour in your life that turned out to be a really great life lesson. I'm pretty sure that Erin can say yes to that. I'm pretty sure that Jody can say yes to that. Yeah, I definitely would like to be able to come back and just collect, even if it's just a couple of them, and just explain I've been nurturing this thing for 20 years. I don't want to take it away because it's so pretty, but I would love to be able to come back and just grab a couple of blooms every year. There's another. It's funny how life lesson. The very first year I was here, Yvonne's son, Cody, planted a Christmas tree. They had a Christmas tree and he planted it in the garden. Or I had a Christmas tree and he planted, and we planted it in the garden. This thing is now like 30, 40 feet high. And you're going, that's amazing. It grew that much in 20 years. And I can still remember at the time of Star Wars, when he was in his early teens, when he lightsabered the top of this fir tree and ran. And I just laughed at him and I said, that's what sabers are for. I would have done the same thing. How many of you relate to that? I mean, it's quite natural. If you've got a saber, you go at the top of the tree. I totally related to it. And so he had no reason to run. And it gave it a lot of character and a lot of good memories. So I look at that and go, if he hadn't done that to the tree, it wouldn't be a memory, and therefore it would just be another fir tree, Christmas tree that grew up. I remember one time he was earning money by painting something for me, and he painted half the rocks that were underneath the thing he was meant to be painting. And I said to him, well, as soon as he cleaned up the rocks, he could have the money. And he wasn't stupid. He just turned the rocks over. How many of you can see that? Unfortunately, he was dealing with me. So when I saw how quickly he managed to fix the problem, I went out there and I went, hmm, that was very quick. That should have taken longer than it did. So let me just see here. And I started to turn over rocks, and you could see the blood draining from his face. And I said, you have to understand, I probably would have done the same thing. And that's what I'm checking for. Hi, Lee. Good to see you. Oh, so for you, it's chrysanthemums. I'm Nana's saying that you can actually split a hydrangea, but to me, the risk of actually killing it would be really sad for me. I'm going to take one of my other hydrangeas with me. And the other thing is, it's pretty big now, Nana, and it would be too big for where I'm going, I believe. But, nice to know that you can split them. That is awesome. So what you say, would I just take a bit of the root, or how do you do it? I've tried to take cuttings every year, and I fail every year to take proper cuttings. So it must have to do with root. All right, Beth is saying, yes, my detour this year was eating. I've now discovered that by taking care of myself first, I feel great, and I've had confidence to work and spread my happiness to others instead of hiding my emotions. You know something, Beth, you've been an inspiration to us all in what you've managed to do. It's absolutely amazing. Now, for those of you who were here at lunchtime, we were talking about, are you going to stay stuck behind the boulder, or are you going to take a step in the right direction? And from what I heard, Amy took the step in the right direction. So we're very pleased to hear how that happens. So if you see Amy, give her a big pat on the back for me. Wow. Okay, so Lee is saying that she said, I know how you feel. I had a lilac bush in our old house, and it crushed me when someone cut most of it down when I drove by the other day. Yes, it's funny, isn't it? We still own the property. Whether we own it or not is irrelevant. I mean, that's still my property. And look what they did to my property. So it's it's very difficult to let go, because you have such memory of it. I've got hydrangeas that I planted. I've got I've got rose bushes that I planted. Yes, Beth made a flying leap over her boulders, right? And yes, the difference is, though, Beth, that you could see that you were punishing yourself, which wasn't fair on you. Yeah, and I still, it's packed away now, but I still have a picture in my possession of my house from 60 years ago. It's still my house as far as I'm concerned. I did most of my growing up there. And so to me, if I went back there, I've had reason to go back, and I've actually not done it because I know it would upset me. Number one, I probably would find it much smaller than I remember it, because I was small then and the house looked much bigger to me. Do any of you relate to that one? That when you're a child, a house looks bigger than it really is because of your size. Wow, this is sad to hear. Erin's saying that she got distracted for a few minutes. They were taking my roommate to the hospital. And what was happening to her was similar to what happened to Erin's mum when she died. Gosh, that would trigger you in a lot of ways, Erin. So take a deep breath and this is, even though the symptoms are the same, the outcome may not be the same. All right? But the trigger is there regardless. So our thoughts and prayers, big hugs to you here, Erin. That's very not surprising. You got a bit distracted. So I look at it and go, I am amazed how many detours life actually sends me on. Now, do any of you remember when I first started house hunting, I found something that I called Sunshine Cottage. And they priced it out of the market and they did all sorts of things. So I literally let it go. And it was really interesting because guess what? It's 6 months later, and obviously a new realtor has taken it over, and it's right back at the price that it was originally set at before they got crazy with it. And, part of me is going, I wonder if I should go and look at it again and make sure that maybe that's where I need to be. So, but it is interesting that it did that. It went full circle. It was really interesting. And if you remember, I just let it go. I didn't worry about it. Okay, if you want to put that price on it, that's your right. But I don't have to I don't have to get all bent out of shape. And so to me, I look at it and go, the things that upset me today are far less. I'd have to say that at 71, although things still upset me, it was far less. And so I think that's why you will often hear that youth is wasted on the young. All right. But you have to get this old before you start to really realize what's going on. So good for you, Erin. I'm proud of you for hanging in there on that one. Yeah, as you said, different hospitals, different doctors, different medications. I believe that our technology in terms of medicine doubles like every year. Right, whatever we knew last year, all the knowledge that we have will double again by this time the next year. Isn't that scary and wonderful? Nana, I'm not sure I understand what you're advising me to do here. I read what you said about your house. Go back and look. Oh, okay, fine. Talk to the neighbors. What's to lose? You know, I'm not sure, Nana, if I my question is, why didn't it sell? To my mind, it should have sold. So it's interesting. Either it hasn't sold because I meant to go there, or else, there's something else that I need to know about that other people have known about. Really weird. Yeah, the thing is this though, Jody. I was saying this at lunchtime, and I want to repeat it again. What happens if you don't get all, I don't believe there is a perfect place, do you? I also believe I will make home wherever I land up. Yeah, Nana, when I bought this place 20 years ago, nearly, when I bought this place, it had been on the market for 6 months, I think. And it was beautiful. It was waiting for me to get here. That's how I look at it. And I sort of walked in and went, that's very nice. And then interestingly enough. The only thing that upset me was the garden wasn't big enough for my dog. And I was told that the dog would adapt, and he did. Now, how do you like this? I love this quote, and it says, "It is one of the most beautiful compensations of this life that no man or woman can sincerely try to help another without helping himself or herself." How many of you have found that out, that there is great joy and reward in helping other people? And sometimes it's easier to help other people than it is to help yourself. Yes, but do you understand what I'm saying, Sarah? I've let go of even worrying about finding the perfect place because I believe that wherever I end up, I will make it home. I've I just changed that, Beth. Would you like to check it one more time? Because I did go in and change it. And let me know. Thank you. Um, then Nana warned me about the fact that I hadn't done the live chat thing. So here is the reality of it all. The same way as planes don't go in a straight line, or trains or cars or anything else, that's called perfection. And therefore, I realize that if I don't worry about that perfection, really, okay, let me go back one more time while I'm still here. Maybe I did something wrong, obviously. I'll go back and do it one more time. Oh, you know what I didn't do? Save changes. Okay, thanks for that, Beth. Would you like to check it one more time again and see if I got it right this time? Being imperfect really is a struggle. um, so, if I don't have to worry about finding the perfect place, do you understand how that changes everything? That people have said to me, "What are you going to do? You're going to move away from people you care about." I said, "Yes, but thank you, Beth. But I'm also going to meet new people. And what if I am meant to meet those people?" Right? I know that when I came to live here, I was meant to meet Yvonne. I really know that now. 20 years later, I know that the reason I had to buy this house was so that I could meet Yvonne. And she has been, a better friend to me than almost anybody I know in lots of ways. And I started off teaching her a great deal, and then she in turn now teaches me a great deal. Do you know what I mean? It's very symbiotic, I think, relationship where we have helped each other. Yes, Beth, the perfect place doesn't exist. Perfect in the eyes of the beholder only. And the other thing is this, I remember my realtor saying to me when I was with them recently, "Are you really excited about moving?" I went, "No." Like, how many of you can understand? I'm not really excited about moving. I really not particularly keen to move. But if I get really excited about moving, and then things go wrong, I will be upset. So I'm just trying to go with the flow. That's all. For the first time in my life, I'm not pushing it. I'm keeping it on track. I keep checking to make sure everything is on track. But other than that, I am not pushing it one way or the other. And it's really a whole new way of doing it. I can see how much of my life I was under such stress. Beth, I heard you say something this week. What was it that you were saying? Was it to do with blood pressure or something? Um, and I just, I just literally, when I read it, I went, I went, "Wow, when I know what you do in a day, am I surprised about this?" And the answer was no. And, because you accomplish so much in a day, Beth. Yes, go at your own pace. But here's what I found out, and I need to tell you all this because it's important. I have found that my real pace isn't what I thought it was. My real pace is a lot slower than I thought it was. Um, my real pace is probably half the speed that I used to go at. And Yvonne said something, for those of you who don't know, Yvonne is my friend and tenant who lives downstairs. I inherited her with the house. She was saying to me that the reason that my blood pressure is under control the way that it is because I've slowed everything down. Well, Beth, the interesting thing is that I've been there and done that, and I don't recommend it, just so you know. I used to work 18-hour days, high stress. I did the most stressful job in the world as well, or so they say. And, one day I woke up and I didn't have any adrenaline left. So there's a reason why you hear me be a bit of a mother hen to you. It's like, do you really think you're Superwoman? But I also heard you say that when the grandbaby arrives, that you will slow this down a bit. You still choose not to stop. It's not that you can't. You choose not to, right? Okay. So Sarah, if you know where you just typed that comment? Sorry, Sarah's just asking for something here. She's trying. Do you see where you typed the comment, Sarah? Right below that, there is a dollar sign. And if you click on that, it gives you the option to make a contribution. All right. And underneath, there is a slider bar that you can change to get to the amount that you want to contribute. If you're watching on the replay and find that the broadcasts are useful to you, please go to DearMamaSal.com, and there is a donate button on the website. I don't know if it is available on a phone. Maybe somebody else on a phone could let me know. By the way, I did something totally new this week, and I was so proud of myself. Have you ever been struggling to learn how to do something, well, other than this? Have you ever been struggling and you keep going, there has to be a way. Somebody must have found a way to do this. And what it was is, how do you upload a picture into Instagram from your laptop, not from your phone? I can do that very easily. And I found out how to do it this week, and I just went, wow. That took me a long time to find that hack, but once I found it, it was like, now they will not catch me again. I will know how to do it. And if anybody needs to know how to do it, I will let you know. But just so you know that it's possible to do if you're somebody that wants to upload from your computer. Right. So Beth, may I repeat that? Yeah, okay. So here's what Beth said, and I'm certain a lot of people, including viewers, will, later, will relate to this. And if you do, please leave a comment for Beth, because it's important for her to know she's not alone in this. Here's what she said: I can't stop feeling that I'm not good enough. I have to show to everybody, or I am a piece of doo-doo. Thanks to my mom. Whatever went wrong, she would say it was my fault. Mind you, I was a child. Jody, Am I allowed to tell your story of what happened to you this week? Because it's really important that you understand this was years ago and it's still ruling your life. So, Beth, what if you could? Yeah, Beth, listen to the story about Jody. Jody told me that she was having an apartment inspection um, this week. And you could tell by the way she was describing it, she was really under stress about it. And I was going, I can't believe how stressed you sound about this because I know that you and Lionel are not, you know, anything but, quite normal people. And so here's what she told me, Beth. Listen to this one. She told me that she very early on. Hi, Jamie. Very early on in her life, there was about to be a house inspection or apartment inspection, and she had spent the whole day getting everything ready, and she was a child still, and she had worked really hard to make a spotless home. I think this had to do with your mom in some way, Jody, right? Anyway, but she played the adult and got this home really beautifully ready for the inspection. And overnight, her brother destroyed everything. I mean, just made it, trashed everything. Um, yeah, just after her mother passed, all right? And he literally had taken the detergent and dropped it over the countertops, the liquid dishwasher stuff and goodness knows what else. And basically caused chaos in the home. Can you imagine? How old were you at the time, Jody? 19. Okay. So can you imagine? She probably wanted to throttle her brother. And hopefully she didn't. But, it's like, I can totally understand why the very words, house inspection, um, probably sent her into a level of stress. But what I said to her was that was then, it's not now. All right. That was then. You know what your place looks like now. And you know that Lionel's not going to destroy it overnight. So therefore, why the stress? And the post-traumatic tape just keeps playing for her whenever she hears those words of a house inspection. So, Beth, if you get up tomorrow and say, I'm not going to listen to what happened, to what my mother used to say about me, right? I refuse to listen to her anymore. I have let her control my life up to, quite recently. And I've almost believed her as well. Now, the interesting thing is that I relate to that side as well because Beth, when it has to do with art. The reason I look at it and go, "Am I kidding myself?" is because, yeah, because I used to go to art so I could miss doing homework. Do any of you relate to that? I was in a boarding school and, the art class happened when everybody else was doing homework, as, their assignments. And so, I worked it out. I needed to become an artist, because that would get me out of some time doing homework. So the funny thing is, have any of you heard this story about what happened to me at school and art? Because it was interesting to me. Beth is saying that she can so relate to the inspection thing. She will scrub everything so it's clean. And they keep saying that her apartment is amazing. But now I feel it has to be amazing all of the time, so I still let others control me. You can see it now. That's the difference, Beth. Now you can see it. Before you couldn't see it. You couldn't see that you were allowing others to control you. So you see, you're halfway there. In fact, more than halfway there. All right. So here's a story about Sal and art. So once I'd worked out that the art classes happened during the time that I was meant to do homework, I definitely wanted to go to art. And I went to art. The only thing was that the art teacher wasn't stupid. And then she had my number anyway, because I was also in drama. You'll be surprised to hear. So she was pretty sure the only reason I went to the art class was so I could, yeah, for the very reason I went. So whilst everybody was working on a still life of apparently a whole bunch of flowers in a flower pot, and in a vase of some sort, and everybody else had white paper and doing things, and she gave me black paper. Now, how many of you could understand? Already, I knew I was done. Everybody else had really fancy paints, and I got given poster paint. I knew that theirs came in tubes and mine came in a very different looking thing. So do you understand? Already I know I'm not worthy of the good paints. So then I thought, oh, by the way, I was right at the back of the class, which was fine. And here I go, and I start painting with the wrong paints on black paper, and I am having great fun. How many of you can imagine me? I'm going, what I didn't know was I was short-sighted. So can you imagine for a second that you are about 30 feet away from a vase full of chrysanthemums? Funny enough, that's exactly what it was. What would that look like if you had fuzzy vision? Can you imagine that? For any of you are short-sighted, this will be easy for you to imagine because you just have to take your glasses off and go, oh, yeah, that's what it would look like. But what I could see were these splashes of color. Does that make sense to anybody? These splashes of color, in something that was brown on a white tablecloth. So black paper, very vibrant poster colors. Thank you very much indeed. I had a long brush and I'm dipping in and I'm going, these splotches of color because that's what I could see. The only thing I could see was fuzzy blotches of color. So I was busy creating what I could see. I did a pretty good job. And at the end of the class, the art teacher said to me, you might want to go to the front and see what you've been painting. I said, what? And she said, well, I can see what you've done here, Sal. So, why don't you go to the front of the class and see what you've been painting? And I walked forward and I went, oh, they got leaves and things. They got petals. Because, mine didn't have any petals. Mine. And anyway, so I came back. And what was that about? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I picked up my black piece of poster page, and I walked towards the dumpster, the garbage can, and I was about to rip it when the teacher said, "Stop! What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I've now seen what it's meant to look like, and obviously I have failed this miserably." How many of you can imagine what it looked like? It looked like a piece of modern art, apparently. You see, everybody else drew a photograph or painted a photograph. I actually had expression and color and movement because I was busy moving, wasn't I? And she said, don't you dare throw that in the garbage. It's going on the wall. I'm going, my first attempt, and it's going on the wall. By the way, the surprising thing is that it won an award. She actually, without my knowing, sent it in for a competition for, school kids of my age, and it won an award. And how many of you know that I'm sitting there and I'm going, I didn't know what I was doing? Can any of you feel it? You see, I didn't see myself as an artist. I saw myself as somebody who just painted what they saw. So when I do this work here, can you understand what's going through my mind? The reason why I say, Jody, am I kidding myself here? Now, the funny thing is, I can say, really, all this is throwing paint on canvas and moving it around. And then Lauren stopped me because I remember Lauren saying to me, but it's not as easy as it looks, because Lauren tried it. And I said, no, you're right. It's not as easy as it looks. And it takes a lot of time. So, yes, Beth, you're right. That teacher showed you what an amazing artist is. It's not what you paint, but you paint what you see, right? What you feel. And so now the interesting thing was that I ended up actually taking art to quite a high level. And when I had to do the big exam, there was a thunderstorm. It's not easy, is it, Nana? It's extremely difficult to get the result. And so, you look at it and you go, this takes time to get here, but I really wanted to get here. Right? And so I know that to do something that is difficult, you just got to keep doing it. Most people would quit. And so I laugh about Lauren and Jody because they know I don't quit. Right? There've been a number of occasions where I've been talking to them about something and something's gone wrong, and they just go, "Yeah, but you're not going to quit," because they know they've had experience of that. I will work through the night if I have to try and beat something, but I don't quit. Yes. So Beth's saying, Sal, do I paint differently with colors or pattern when I'm angry or not feeling myself? Well, you've got to think about that. These two paintings are very different. Beth, right? This one and this one. Do you see how different they are in terms of color and flow? And if you were to say what emotion was that one, and what emotion was this one, what would you say? Or how about those two up there? Because if you ask me that question, it would be easy to think I was feeling angry there, right? Because it's the darker colors and the power in the, that there's a lot of power in there. I don't know if you can see that. But whereas this one came out much more pastel colors and has a lot more flow to it, right? Yes. So you see chaos here. Now it's funny you see chaos because I've had people see snow falling off a mountain top. I've had all sorts of different people see different things in this one. Yeah, I really like the dark one too. And this one is really pretty, especially the heart of it. Literally, the heart of it is really beautiful. But, they were painted on 2 consecutive days. I painted this one the day before my birthday and this one on my birthday. So was I really and this one happened the same day as that one. I must have done this on my birthday. And this one, if you look at it, is very different. What do you see in this one? Do you see good mood, bad mood? You see, I don't think it although I want to say yes, it has been my experience, if I look at my artwork around me, it has been my experience that it depends what I mix up in paints. You know what I mean? So I had already decided that I was going to paint in metallics. So it didn't matter what my mood was. I had already decided the day before, when I go and paint, I'm going to do metallics. Then when I was doing this one, and you'll get to see, hopefully, you will get to see the way I did this one. I didn't like it. I thought it was too dark, so I added a lot more light to it. Right? Yes, you can see different things in this dark one. I want to tell you something, Beth. I'm not an expert in art, but this one with a really good varnish on it will look, I believe, stunning. So the the question, we started this about talking about how do I see myself? Do you understand, Beth, that because of the negative I had that first day, because I knew I was cheating. I was just trying to get out of doing my homework. Do you understand that stayed with me a lifetime? And it's funny because these two up here, I did very early on, and I still love them. They're very simple, very light, very nondescript in lots of ways, but they really bring me a lot of peace. Are they selling? No, because I haven't taken them and tried to sell them. And so to me, I remind myself, Nana, that I didn't start painting to sell them. Yes. And you see, everybody will see, and that's the joy of art, Beth, is that everybody will see what they want to see in them. I actually I'm collecting the artwork now, Nana, and I am hoping to be able to have enough of the big ones together so that one day I can just walk into yeah, when I say a gallery, but something local and go, okay, this is my art. Do you want any of it? To try and sell it. I've had somebody approach me online to say they want to sell my paintings. Actually, that happened 2 days ago because they've seen me go up on Instagram and they like what I do. Now, I just went, really? Duh. So this is about, and the sad thing is I'm about to move somewhere where I won't have enough room to put my paintings up. Because I thought the point that Jody made was very interesting. I started painting this sort of painting in little squares like this, which I still have. And then I got so scared. I painted on just paper for the longest time. I didn't want to waste canvases. Now, look at me. I'm doing 26 by 16 canvases and bigger. So you understand, this is as I get more confident about what I'm doing. All right, it's increasing, and so any day now you're going to see a dirty grape mural from me. I'm going to have fun with it. No, I don't have to move to a certain place, but also I don't have to buy a place that fits my art, right? It's like if I want to sell my art, I'll pack it all up into a box and I'll take it somewhere and go, okay, here you go, sell what you can, and I'll see you next month. So to me, it's like I could go to flea markets and try and sell them there, but how many of you know I couldn't? I'd be very uncomfortable doing that because I can't stand still long enough. It's just like, and I'd need to pee. Yeah, I get to choose. And I get to choose just to paint because I love to do it. And after I'm long gone, maybe they'll be worth a fortune to somebody. I doubt it, but who knows? So to me, it's about don't do it because of the value of it. Do it because you love it. Do any of you remember the snow fox and the polar bear? They are still two of my favorites. Yeah, at the moment, nothing has stood in the way of that deal, Nana. Nana's asking me, have I made the decision about the fifth wheel? Yes, I'm still taking baby steps towards the finalizing the deal. Yeah. So I just want to get them because I want to just show you. Okay, so here's what I want to show you. Okay, this one I still love. This is I call the Snow Fox. For those of you who've never seen this, and it's in. I don't know if you can see the coloring of it, and it's like he's sliding down. And this one I call the polar bear. Can you see the polar bear here? Now, I couldn't repeat those two if I tried, I don't think. But here's something else I wanted to show you. I called this the phoenix. And this just happens to be the same coloring as the phoenix. So why am I showing you this? Because if I get the fifth wheel, I will be in a community that all have fifth wheels. And you do understand that I can be the first person to actually create artwork for fifth wheels. Because this size will fit beautifully above where the slide goes out. Yeah. So, you see, it's all about, does it really matter? No. If I keep adapting, and by the way, not one of these was done on canvas. Every one of these that you're looking at was done on copy paper. Actually, I lie. Done on cardstock. Right? They're not done on canvas. And yet, they are beautiful in their own right. And so, a year later, I still love them. So therefore, they're staying with me, right? They're not packed up yet. So here's what I'm trying to say, which is they bring me joy. Was that worth a year's worth of work to find I could paint that many that actually, and what about the ones on my walls, right? I mean, you know that I've got, whoops, I still love that one on the wall. I still love, don't want to knock that over. I still love these two on my wall. I've got bigger ones that I did 10 years ago in other rooms. You know what I mean? It's like, don't do things just for the money. Yes, Nana, and that's, you know, I am quite sure that if I can find the right person to represent me, I could do a lot of stuff for people starting their new offices, you know, doctors and dentists and whatever, right? Because that's what they want. Big stuff. Bigger than these even. Probably twice the size of these. You know, I take up a big wall. So to me, it's about, if that's what I meant to do, it'll happen. Question. Do you think that Leonardo da Vinci, Rubens, whatever, was, you know, were paid a lot of money for their artwork? Or did they love to paint and just did it? How many of you are writers? You love to write. You see, if you love to write, you will write. I love to help. So I help. I do what I can. I love to tell stories about things, which is why broadcasting works for me. Makes sense. I love to be able to take an analogy between painting and life. You know, was I surprised that this turned into a phoenix? Yeah, very surprised. But that's what I was given. And I loved it. So I stopped trying to force everything. Beth, I need you to hear me on this one, right? I stopped trying to force everything. I just do my thing. at my speed. And I'm not so worried anymore about whether anybody else likes it. I mean, I'm happy if they do. Makes sense. But it's, I'm 71. Maybe I don't know how many years I've got of painting left to play. Exactly, Beth, right? And he probably didn't think it was that good. And again, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And so I look at it and go, what are you doing just for the fun of it? I had the biggest argument with Jody for quite a while about, you know, it isn't about the perfection of what you do. It's about, do you enjoy doing it? I find when, okay, Beth. Oh, I haven't got my tablet here. Beth, can you just hold on one second? I want to get my tablet because I want to show you something. Okay, so I'm just going to need a bit of time just to get what I need here. But Beth, I really wanted to show you. You remember I was discussing with you when I was gaming on that particular game for a while. And okay. All right. Here we go, Beth. Guess when I was gaming. So this is my heart rate. And I started gaming here. Do you see what happened to my heart rate? And do you know when I stopped gaming? Can you see when I stopped doing it? So what I wanted to show you is, even though it's a game, right? Even though I think I'm relaxing doing it, I'm a competitor. So what happens? Yeah. And I could feel it happening, Beth. And that is why I stopped gaming, because I could see the watch told me what was happening to me. And you can see this is where I stopped, right here. So the reason I've gone back to painting is I want my blood pressure to go back down again. My blood pressure does not do that when I'm painting. Which game? March of Empires, I think, Mega. But it was like, I can show people that this is what that game did. And I'm pretty sure that that is an interesting thing. I would love to actually take that and talk to young people about it and say, hey, if you don't think it affects you, have a look at this. Now, it wasn't that I was under stress in lots of ways, except I was on a learning curve at the beginning. But boy, that thing just went like that until the day I stopped. I found that fascinating. It went from an average of mid-50s up to... Exactly, Beth. And that's why I think if you can pick up a fitness watch that actually would tell you a lot. I'd love to know how many steps you take in a day, Beth. You know, it's no wonder you're thin as a rake, right? Because I'm pretty sure the speed at which you go and the rate at which you do things, your heart rate probably is way higher than you think it is. And you understand that's not a good thing. So think about that. You know, I think you said you were going to get one. Am I right? Even borrow one from somebody for a week, you know, just so that you can see. Well, this is the whole thing. Yeah. So, Beth, here is the thing. You know, you've done a lot to help yourself. Just be aware. All right. I had to wait for this to start to turn to show you, oops, to show you, because I was pretty sure it would turn. Right. But rats. Right. I was pretty sure as soon as I stopped it would turn, but I needed to make sure that it was heading in the right direction before I showed you. So knowledge is a wonderful thing. You can then choose whether you want to do anything about it. I could see from my watch what was happening to my blood pressure. And I made a choice. I made a choice to stop playing the game. You can thoroughly enjoy the game. One of the things, for example, Beth, when I was a professional speaker, considered to be the most stressful job, I think that and motor racing, you know, are on a par somewhere. But here's what I found. I actually had them fit me with a heart monitor one day. And do you know what happened to me when I got in front of an audience of 7,000 people? How many of you would have this happen to you in front of 7,000 people? And guess what happened to me? What I've always found is fascinating. The first 3 minutes when I was just getting things ready to go, the first 3 minutes, my blood pressure went up. All right, because the first 3 minutes are the most difficult because you need to set things up. You need to assess the audience, assess what you're doing, and then move into what you're doing. And the interesting thing was, as soon as I got into the zone, if you like, my blood pressure just dropped nicely. Thank you. And I was laughing a lot. I was telling stories. And I found out that speaking for me wasn't the stress. It was the travel that was stressful. The constant hotels, all sorts of things. The stress of airplanes and will I get there on time, and life. The actual speaking wasn't stressful. I loved it because people used to laugh at me, and they paid me. How much fun is that? And they things like standing ovations, right? Here's what Beth says. When my customers tell me that I move like lightning, I'm starting to understand that no one works this hard. I've even run outside to help older customers put groceries in their car, and I run back. You see, I totally get that, Beth. I totally relate to that. I've known that about you from the day I met you. Just have a look at it. You're going to be able to see what you're doing. Yeah, Jody was asked to talk in front of a group of cancer patients. I used to spend 50 when I was speaking, Jody, I think I spent 50% of my speaking career donating my gift, if you like, to people with lupus, people with brain cancer. I would literally know the groups. I would meet them along the way, and I would, I'd hear somebody say to me, "Oh, I've got a friend with brain cancer," and I go, "Oh, where are they? Where did they go for treatment?" "Oh, the XYZ hospital." I'd be phoning the XYZ hospital. I said, "Do your people need to laugh a bit? I'd like to donate some time." you know, or the people with scleroderma or whatever it was. I literally, for every speech I gave that I was paid for, I would do another one that I gifted. And that made me happy. Well, actually, you can do it, Beth. You just talk yourself out of it. I bet you if I asked you to get up and talk about how to clean an office building, you could carry on for no end of time, or how to play the game that you play, right? Well, Jody, at the time, I didn't think that I was being that good a person. It just, I kept running, life kept bringing these people in front of me. Does this make sense? And I saw every one as an opportunity to speak and maybe make somebody's life better. So to me, I'd literally go, okay, what are you going to send me this time? And I'd be on an airplane with somebody and they'd be telling me stories about, Erin, for example. And I'd go, okay, is Erin part of a group or whatever? Where would I find these people? Yes, you have to be passionate about it. So that's why, Beth, I spent most of my speaking career talking about not being perfect. It's the only thing I was an expert in. All right. If you think about it, I spend my time here with you guys talking about not being perfect. Right. So to me, I don't have to be perfect at this to help somebody. I just have to be me. That's what I found out. I just have to talk about what is, you know, well, laughter is, I believe, laughter is really important for a lot of people. And so, can any of you understand that there's part of me that's going, I don't have to panic too much about where I'm going next. I believe it'll be to the fifth wheel because wherever I go, it's where I'm meant to be. And will I help people there? Probably. Can you imagine me not doing that? Will some people really get up my nose? Absolutely. Will I get up some people's nose? Yeah, a lot. I'm not a sort of middle of the road person. You either like me lots or you don't. And will some people get threatened by me? Absolutely. And will I care? Not really. This is like, I don't have time for you to understand me. It's like I am who I am. Either accept me. Now, the joke was, do you want to hear something funny? The joke was that I went to open up my emails yesterday on my birthday. Um, and there was an email from my friend, the realtor, who's been my friend for 30 years. What do I think is going to be in this email on my birthday? It's just like, oh, look at it. She remembered. No. It was a contract I'm going to have to sign to give them permission to sell my place. And you know something? I just went, huh. Now, here's the imperfection. How many of you would have written and said, this is what I was expecting and this is what I got? How many of you would have just left it alone? What is the right thing to do? And I've got to say this because it was really interesting, the two parts of me that had that conversation. What would you do? How many of you would just go, so be it, move on? And how many of you would say something? Yeah, Jodie's saying, write to them saying, I'm singing this as I eat my birthday cake. Yep. Or I'm signing this. Sorry, not singing. I'm signing this as I write. I'm nowhere near signing. Why would I sign it? I'm not ready to move yet. You know, those things have got a clause of time in them. So yeah, definitely don't want to be signing that yet. But you know, they sent it to me so I could read it. So when I was ready, that I would understand what's in it. Fine. So how many of you would actually write and say what happened to you? And how many of you would go, wow, you know, that could cause a bit of a problem, so I wouldn't say that. I must admit, I fought with that for probably an hour or so. And I'm going, I think the right thing to do is not say anything. Do any of you agree with me? And so I was like, yeah, I think the right thing to do is probably not say anything. So that was my dilemma. Now, you guys known me a long time, some of you. What do you think I did? And the reason, yeah, it's a hard one, isn't it, Beth? That's why I thought I'd mention it to you guys. How many of you can see that let it go is a very definite option, which is this was probably a bad coincidence and just let it go. And then the other side is, yeah, see, Jodie's saying politely remind them somehow, right? So, you know, I had to tell them, you know, I tried very hard not to. I've got to tell you that. I knew it was probably the better thing to do was not to say anything about it and just let it go. And I couldn't do it. I really did try for a couple of hours. And then I just wrote a note and said, you know, this is really funny. Because when I saw your email on my birthday, I really expected this was a birthday wish. And it turned out to be a contract. You can imagine the effect that had. I'm still laughing. Thanks for the laugh. Yeah. Yeah, because I was laughing by then. Because it's just like, how embarrassing is that? You know, and really, did they know better? Yeah, they knew better. So, you know, there's part of me that goes, yeah, probably that wasn't what they wanted to read, and that they probably. Well, you know, she does know that. We've talked about this regularly, Beth. They are aware. They'd like me to sell it pretty quickly, obviously. But you know, if I'm going to buy the fifth wheel, then I have no reason to sell it pretty quickly because then where am I going to live until the fifth wheel is ready in March? You know what I mean? It's like I've had this conversation. So I don't think that they think the fifth wheel is a good choice for me. That's what I think is happening. And they would rather see me go into something bigger. So I can understand that. No, you know, I mean, yes, I'm pretty sure because that's the business they're in, right? But I don't think so. I think they genuinely, Beth, I do believe they genuinely have my best interest at heart. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to believe that it's purely about commission or the deal or whatever. I think they genuinely think I am not going to be happy in 500 square feet. And what I've said to them, I want to find out. You know, it's far easier to go down to 500 square feet and after a year go, this really doesn't work, and then be happy in maybe 750 or 1,000. All right. It's much easier to do that than to downsize to 1,000 and then down to 500. Yes, Beth. But you know, Beth, how many people know you as well as you know yourself? Now that you're beginning to find out who you are, that's the interesting thing. I think you're going to find out, Beth, as you continue to grow. As we all do, and you will continue, and I will continue. Is the more you find out about yourself, the more you find out, wow, that really isn't who I thought I was. Yeah. And so, for example, for those of you who've been around a long time with me, if you had said to me, which would I give up first, the broadcasts or the vlogs? I probably would have told you the broadcasts. But you see, when I decided to take 6 months and give myself a bit more space, it wasn't the broadcasts I gave up. I gave up the vlogs. Isn't that interesting? And the reason was because I know that the broadcasts have helped so many people. Yes, Beth, your walls are coming down, but they're your walls and you choose to let them down. Yes. I saw a really nice quote today. Hang on a second, Beth. Let me see if I can find it for you because it really made so much sense. Of course, now I won't be able to find it. Yes, here you go. Are you ready for this, Beth? You might want to put this somewhere. It says, my life, my choices, my mistakes, my lessons. How many of you relate to that one? This is my life, and my life looks like this because of my choices. And some of those choices have been my mistakes, but these are my lessons to learn. And that's why I say to people, don't get frustrated when you can't help people. Right? Don't get frustrated when you can't help people. I had somebody write to me recently and really, do a number on me because I, was not, it doesn't really matter, but it's like I realize I can't help everybody. Right? And so I have to let that go. If I try to help everybody, um I'll just be a perfectionist, and I know that's not what I am. I also know that you cannot help people who are not ready to be helped. You probably all know that as well. Yes, exactly. And Beth, that's why I really am looking forward to reading John McCain's book, because that very point. He was the first to say how many mistakes he made, but his mistakes also made him who he was. Right? And so don't think about I can't make any mistakes, all right? Hi, Carrie. Because if I hadn't made mistake after mistake after mistake doing this, I wouldn't have reached here. Does this make sense? This is the point that I'm trying to get to. A plane doesn't go from New York to Vancouver in a straight line. By very virtue of the fact that it is a plane, it's going to make course corrections along the way. You know, a, a, a train doesn't go in a straight line because it can't, right? There are too many obstacles in its way. It has to go with the flow. And so you look at it and you go, the things you really want to do in life. Beth, I keep thinking about this. You work more hours than most people I know. You still have time for your family and then your family's family, and then you still have time to play your game. That is an incredible amount of energy that you put out to the world. So to me, this is, as long as you understand this is your choice, but remember that somewhere along the line, somewhere along the line, Beth, right? You've got to understand that you could end up in hospital. Well, Beth, the reason they call you is because you are apparently the responsible person, because you do it all for your daughter. That's why they call you. Yeah, Kerry, you're smart enough to know that if you don't, you can either pack it in ice and take some ibuprofen to help the inflammation go down, or you could end up with a bit more problem, right? Your choice. Yeah, it's just complaining. It's had enough. So, Beth, the other thing is, once I realized what I'd done to myself, I realized that I needed to take some corrective action. By the way, what I also noticed when I was playing this game, I was eating junk food. No, of course they don't bother to call her first. I wouldn't bother to call her first. Why are you, excuse me, Beth, I love you to bits, but why are you being so dumb here? Why are you surprised? What surprises me is that you are surprised because you act as the mother, right? You don't, you act as the primary mother. It's like you loan you loan him out to your daughter. Yeah, you may want to let them know that. So there's got to be a reason. You might even want to say, "Hey, I know I'm an emergency contact number, but is there a reason why you call me first?" And if they say, "Well, you apparently, get things done," then you go, "But I'm not the mother. I just need to tell you that." So don't be surprised when you act like you're the mother. Does that make sense, Beth? If you keep taking the mother role, yeah, that's what mothers do. It's not what grandmothers do, it's what mothers do. Yeah. Right. And who made sure that he had all the right papers and everything else, Not the mother, the grandmother. So don't be surprised if they treat you like the mother because that's how you act. That is a very good point. That's a good one to ask, Beth. Are they calling you because your grandson asks them to call you? Yeah, that would be seek first to understand. You've heard me say that before, Beth. First of all, call and say, I noticed that you call me first. Is there a reason for that? I just want to check before I continue. All right. And it may be because your grandson says, please call grandma. I don't know what he calls you, but well, that's why they call you. But I would definitely, make sure they know that you are the grandmother, not the mother. So, but you understand why would you be surprised, Beth? It doesn't surprise me one bit. And he was embarrassed, right? And he trusted you not to get angry with him, right? He said, "Don't tell mommy." Yes, that's why they called you. There's a good reason. You don't have to, Beth. Beth is saying, I have to step back. You don't have to. You may choose to. Hi, Sakura. Good to see you. So does it make some sense in the big scheme of things that if we just go with the flow, Sakura is big on this one, by the way. She really gets this one, that if we just go with the flow to a certain extent, and let life happen, not try and control it all. Now, the interesting thing is, Sakura, what I love is that you had two things go on that were wrong, and we managed to support you to do something about them, and you got both of them fixed, right? And so to me, this was like, there's a difference between doing what is right and going with the flow, right? Mold in your fridge is something that needs attention, right? Kerry's knee is telling her it needs to rest. That needs attention. My blood pressure spiking like that, I need to do something to change that. And I did. By the way, I've taken up doing Tai Chi. Good night, Nana. All right. So I've started doing Tai Chi for 10 minutes just to get my whole body relaxed and just go a bit more with the flow and get some blood pumping in the right places. And so this is about, once you know, knowledge is a wonderful thing. Jody. Jody fights to actually find the motivation to be creative. She knows that she loves to do it, but she fights to find the time. Am I right, Jody? And Beth, I know that you fight to find the time just to relax, but instead of relaxing, you go and play the game. I don't think you know how to sit down and do nothing. And you're not alone, by the way. So that's why we're all here, right? We're all here because we are learning the lessons of life. Does that make any sense? We wouldn't be here if we were perfect. We're here together to help each other take these daily, weekly steps towards a more caring life. And the one person that we've got to learn to care for is ourselves. And that's not easy. Because many of us, especially if you've been damaged in any way, many of us have spent our lives looking after everybody else. And so I continue to be very grateful for the friendship and everything else that you all gave. How many of you are aware that I have got friends now around the world, not only because of DearMamaSal, but because of the work I do on Down Sember? And I was amazed how many people wrote to me in the the 12 hours before my birthday, but I realized then it's already tomorrow in the Philippines. That's why I'm getting these birthday wishes 12 hours ahead of time. And I went, okay, fine. I need to acknowledge those. But I was so grateful. You sit. Listen, I love you, Beth. I sit. This is what Beth is saying. I sit to watch your broadcasts. So you need to do a broadcast every day. Breathe. Breathe. I would love to be a fly on your wall, Beth. And what I want to do is I want to sit on your shoulder for this week. All right. Once you got the watch on, or even before that, I want you to hear me going, really? You want to slow this down a tad? Well, Beth, I love you too, honey. And the thing is this, that you probably have helped more people by your honesty than you will ever know. I always think about that in terms of Leslie and the other people we have helped over the years. If you weren't honest about what goes on for you, you would not have got the growth that you have. But you also know that it's like an onion, right, Beth? You're just peeling away the layers. And as soon as you think, okay, fine, I'm good now, you're going, now I've got to peel away another layer. Okay, I'm good now. And then, and another one. And, I'm sitting here at 71, Beth. I'm still peeling layers away. And some days I am better than others. I assure you, I knew in my heart of hearts that typing the email to say, excuse me, it's my birthday, this is not what I expected, was not the right thing to do necessarily. But, part of me just needed to write that. So I'm not a perfect person. I'm working on it. I'm working on it big time, but I haven't got there yet. So, life and its lessons. I called tonight's broadcast Life Lessons because I want you to really look at how life every day is bringing you more lessons. And I want you, Beth, to watch the people who are in such a hurry that they haven't got time for you to ring it up properly, all right, when you're at work. Or people in such a hurry, they make a mess in their office and you have to clean it up. It's like, and remember, Beth, you are the way you drive your car. Right? That's a very important thing to remember. Yeah, I don't think I will reach. Well, it's like, do I have to become perfect to be helpful? I always said to people when I was on stage, that if I had waited to be perfect before I started being a professional speaker and motivate people, then there would be hundreds of thousands of people in the world that I would not have motivated. Does that make sense? It was like if I had waited until I was good, because I would never have been good enough. But if I had waited for that, there were hundreds of thousands of people in the world that would not have heard me speak. If I had waited until I understood what I was doing on YouTube before I started to do it, right? I wouldn't have met you guys. Yes, Beth, you have to understand that you get a reward out of this. Beth is saying, I have to admit, I love straightening up shelves with all the products facing the right way. You are OCD without any doubt on those things. I kind of get a high doing it, right? You like to see it all looking good, right? It's like your home. So can you now, Beth, can you take a moment and imagine what it's like for Jody? So I want you to see some compassion here. Can you imagine being you, but now being confined to a wheelchair and a bed to the extent that you can't do those things anymore? What would happen to you? That you are an organized go-getter and you fix things for everybody and da 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 da, and then life gets in the way and sends you a dirty great mountain and suddenly you can't physically do it. Well, you might want to make friends even more so with Jody. Because the good news is, Beth, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to find out. And I don't mean that's good news, you know that. But you may want to find out how Jody learned. Yes. And Sakura, you're right. And Jody doesn't need help. You see, Jody has accepted what she can and cannot do now. And that doesn't make her a saint. That makes her a very practical person who probably fought it tooth and nail for the longest time. But I can definitely feel when I talk to Jody, she knows what she's capable of doing and what she can't, and she works within that. Every now and then she has a little meltdown, right? And who wouldn't? But on average, Jody, I think you cope incredibly well. Well, Beth, I want to tell you something, that who you are without your addiction is a better Beth than you are with it, right? Yes, she is very strong. She doesn't feel it all the time, right? Yeah, you do have your meltdowns, and you're entitled, Jody, because you're a human being. And Beth, thank you for being as honest as you are, because it's really important. When you can get this honest, you actually grow far faster. And I would like to tell you that I'm pretty sure that Jody probably asked the same question. Without my OCD, who would I be? A different person, but not necessarily a worse one. Sakura will tell you that she has, changed countries and, you know, eh, done so many things in the last couple of years, you know, terribly difficult things, got married, all the stresses in the world. And she's had to learn a different way of life completely. And she's not perfect at it either. But she has one thing going for her, which is she has a great mentor in her father-in-law, who is very much helps calm her down. So what I say to you all is life sends you lessons every day. Beth, I want you to see the people in your life. We're all still struggling, Sakura. We're all still struggling. Yes. And for those who are of faith, right? I assure you, I ask, I cannot tell you how many times I have no idea what I'm going to talk about in the next broadcast, and I ask for guidance. And it's amazing how many times this idea will pop into my head, and I go, "Oh, that's interesting. Thank you." And it was just like, "What would I do without you?" Um, so think about it. Yeah, you know, perfect is good enough, Beth. Go back twice, right? And you're still going to make it perfect, by the way. But try and distance the time. Then if you go back every 5 minutes to check that it's still perfect because you saw somebody go down that aisle, just go. I think I'm going to leave it for 30 minutes. Give yourself little tests. Can I not go down that aisle for another 30 minutes? I can go down any other aisle, but not that one. Right? And so you understand what I'm saying? This is like, I'm not asking you to lower your standards to everybody else's, Beth. I need you to hear that loud and clear, because that's not who you are. Got it? I'm asking you. Yeah, yeah, you're right, Beth. If they want peas, they're going to find them. Or you're going to look like the superstar because they will come and ask you where the peas. And you'll go, let me turn that around for you so you can see that these are peas. You understand? Now, Beth, I want to ask you one question before I go, and I do need to go, but I want to ask you a question. Can you imagine? I mean, you know me pretty well now, and you know that I shop with Mars bars. Right? And when I go to the dollar store, the first thing I pick up is my Mars bar. And I then go to the cashier and I go, I'm going to eat this Mars bar while I shop. Would you like me to pay for it now, or do you trust that I will still have the wrapper when I finish shopping? Because, and it's funny, the first couple of times I did it, they looked at me really strangely and they just said, "No, it's okay." I go, "Thank you for trusting me. I appreciate that." Now I walk in, I just go, I just hold up the Mars bar and I just get the nod and I go, "Thank you." But Beth, I want you to imagine me in your store. By the way, I can spend $100 in a dollar store without any problem whatsoever. You see, but how many of you can see me doing it? I pick it up and I go. But the interesting thing is, I haven't had anybody say to me, "I don't trust you." And the other thing is, I try not to do it with children around because I don't want to set that bad role model for children. And occasionally I had a child once say, "But she's eating it." And I go, "I had permission from the person who owns the store. Did you go and get permission? Because if you did, you can eat it." Anyway, I hope you could all see me in the dollar store because I have a lot of fun. So, everybody, life is here to teach us lessons, and every day we get lessons. Making time for ourselves is the biggest lesson in the world, in my view. If that's the biggest lesson I've had to learn in 71 years, how to look after me and how not to push myself to try and be Superwoman. So I'm going to send you all a big hug, and hopefully some of you are smiling. And Beth, every time you see the Mars bars, say hi to me, please. Lauren, we all need to give you a big round of applause. Lauren is am I right, Lauren? You're about one segment away from finishing your assignment. By the way, all of you, when you see a Mars bar, feel free to smile and know Sal would like that. And if you do that, well, Beth, I want to tell you something. I found out that there was a viewer who actually worked very close to me. And without her knowing, Beth, I actually went into her store. I didn't give her any warning. I just happened to pitch up in her store. And it was funny because somebody else tried to serve me. And I said, no, I'm waiting for this lady. She will serve me. And, as I said it, you could see that she recognized the voice. And she screamed. She just literally screamed my name. And so, it's about, well, what a gift, right? How can you imagine how I felt? I then said to the person she was dealing with, "It's, just carry on. I'll talk to her when you finished." So, yeah, she was going to faint. I know. I've been to a couple of people actually. I try, if I find out where somebody works, I try and surprise them. And I've been to restaurants where I know people work and all sorts of things. But it's just, I just love to watch the reaction. I've been to coffee shops. I don't know if you heard about that one, but I went into a coffee shop where they recognized me and I didn't realize that they recognized me. And this person said, "I know who you are." And I was so busy on my phone. I said, "No, you don't." And and she went, "Mama Sal, I know who you are." And I went, "Oh yeah, you do." And the whole place came to a standstill. I'm not joking, because about 3 or 4 of the servers all knew who I was once they realized who I was, and then of course the clients wanted to know who the heck I was. And I said, I'm a nobody. But it's really, really fun. So people, enjoy your life lessons. You're going to get them every day. See that everything that comes at you as an obstacle has some good meaning behind it somewhere. You might not recognize it right now. So I'm going to give you a big hug and say, you're doing great work, all of you. This is not easy stuff. And I am so proud of you all for hanging in there and keep taking the steps. Thank you. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, remember to look after one another, but please, number one thing, starting tomorrow, remember to make just a little bit more time for yourself. I love you dearly. Bye-bye for now, everyone. Enjoy. Jody, thank you for looking after the admin. I really appreciate it. And Lauren, thank you as well as Jody for encouraging me to keep painting. I am very appreciative of that because I think I would have quit. This is DearMamaSal saying, we all need cheerleaders. Are you a cheerleader for somebody? I hope so. Bye-bye for now.